Creativity shapes the way we think about society, education, about our work, our family life, the way we think about ourselves. Creativity is defined as the tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining ourselves and others. Creative people like to daydream and imagine the possibilities and wonders of the world. They can immerse themselves in imagination and fantasy, yet remain grounded enough to turn their daydreams into reality. They are often described as dreamers, but that doesn't mean that they live with their heads in the clouds. As Steve Jobs said, creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something that seemed obvious to them after a while. Or, as Einstein said, creativity is intelligence having fun. So, what comes to your mind when you hear the word creativity? Creativity simply expands our perceptions, and along with expanded perceptions come new ways of problem solving. From making an exquisite meal when you don't know how to cook to painting an extraordinary landscape. Creativity allows us to view and solve problems more openly and with innovation. Creativity opens the mind. A society that has lost touch with its creative side is an imprisoned society, and in that society, generations of people may be closed-minded. It broadens our perspectives and can help us overcome prejudice. Our mental life is a stream of intermingled psychological events, all of which are extremely hard to distinguish from each other. Creativity enables that innovation. It can be the process of making an idea your own by modifying something that already exists, or combining ideas together to make something satisfying. And no, as many believe, that intuition is not restricted only to arts, like drawings, sculpting, or crafting, necessarily. Art allows us to share our feelings and emotions in ways that make sense to us and, sometimes, the world. It can be the initial spark which can fuel all aspects and traits of one's personality, allowing him to recreate and innovate in daily life things, like a theater act, an entrepreneurial advance in literature, architecture, cinema, music, cooking, science, business, all sorts of humans' interaction and activities. In general, it's the tendency to create works of art, such as the ones we mentioned before, from thoughts generated from our mind, heart, and soul. Some characteristics of creativity are: it encourages questions, ideas, and collective thinking, instills curiosity, is a way to expressing feelings, giving them voice and sometimes beyond words, nurtures confidence, stimulates and motivates, making young people less influenced by the opinion of others, helps to connect people from different cultures and subcultures and build intercultural connections. It can work as a challenging process for self-development. It can bring people closer and increase the sense of teamwork, cooperation. It about the reflection and the feeling of empathy about the world around us. Creativity can literally allow us to view and solve problems with a more open-minded perception, keeping the mind active and letting it absorb knowledge more easily, which in turn makes processing learning more efficient and unblocks old patterns or habits of thinking, contributing to a nonlinear thinking. A common question people ask is whether you are born or made in the process a creative person. Well, creativity is technically inherited, but by everyone. It's more of a common human trait than a gift. In fact, a widely cited study by George Land found that children are born creative but lose their creativity as they transition through life and into adulthood. It's a soft skill. Other soft skills include critical thinking, collaboration, and negotiation. It is a skill because it can be learned. It can also be sucked dry out of people when there is too much emphasis on rote learning and standardization. You may also ask if you can lose creativity. The answer is that you can't lose your creativity. It's always with you, in you. But you can lose touch with it if you neglect it for too long. sometimes you lose your ability to connect with it. When creativity occurs, it's often a symptom of one or two things: freedom to think, or having a creative task to work on. When you're in the shower, for example, you are experiencing freedom to think. Often the one or two most important things going in your life at that moment will be running through your brain subconsciously though. That's because your conscious state is occupied with simple tasks: turn on water, scrub with soap, sit and feel the warmth of the water. That freedom to think means that your brain is going to be subconsciously working on all the little details that are your top-of-mind problems. If you have a big interview, for example, your brain is already working out what exactly to say, how to say it, and whether or not you should wear your black pants or the gray. The other side of this is having a creative task to work on. If you've got a big creative project you want to work on and you're either staring at it or you're thinking about it again, for example, in the shower, then your brain is treating that as a top-of-mind objective. All of your thoughts will be flowing towards that work. If there's an emergency, or you're exhausted and have a big day tomorrow, or you burned your finger, or something else, all of those things can take up the valuable real estate that is top of mind. So now, your brain isn't going to make an effort to freely flow from idea to idea in search of creativity. Instead, your brain is going to focus on the most important issues at hand instead. The things that end up affecting our creative flow are simple to spot: stressors, energy, and immediate necessities. So, creativity comes and goes though many times, because our stressors and necessities change often. And there's a delicate balance to all of this. You have to be just the right amount of stressed, but also content to have that creative flow working right. Let's get more in depth about creativity. Creativity can be consisted of a lot of components. Some of them are expertise, creative and imaginative thinking skills, a venturesome personality, a creative environment that sparks, supports, and refines creative ideas, fluency of ideas, flexibility with possible use, combination or alteration of those ideas for a better functionality, originality, innovation in case of uniqueness of ideas, further elaboration of ideas, and probably one of the most important is drive and motivation for a creative performance. According to a theory, there are 4 stages of creativity that happens inside the brain. The first one is called preparation, the stage which the problem is investigated by all means and all directions. The second stage is called incubation, where the subconscious is thinking the problem and letting the idea develop. We can often get more results in the same time by beginning several problems in succession and voluntarily leaving them unfinished while we turn to others, than by finishing our work on each problem at one sitting. There's an actual mental relaxation which will help the unconscious process the idea. The third stage is called illumination, in which the thoughts with the ideas takes a formation and a solution is found. The fourth stage is the verification, where you can analyze and evaluate the final result as a confirmation phase. The appearance of a new idea can be instantaneous and unexpected. It is said that, when traveling, one should not read, but sit still and label his thoughts. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.